Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the ZMAM Show. We're talking Walking Dead episode 13 of season 8 here, called Do Not Send Us Astray. So we have spoilers coming up. We're going to talk about some decisions that were made during this episode, and one character in particular I am so freaking annoyed with right now. I'm sure you guys are too if you watched the episode, so let's get straight into it. So war is upon Hilltop, as if it hasn't already, but now pretty much Negan's crew is at the gates, particularly Simon leading them. Negan is, of course, with Jadis at the moment. So it seems Hilltop has some kind of nifty car horn signaling procedure to kind of let the main base know when trouble is coming. Morgan has some hallucinations while he's at his post, seeing Gavin with that mortal spear wound through his neck that Henry gave him. And he's like telling Morgan, you know what it is. So this is very confusing. I'm wondering, is this relating to, back to what Eastman taught Morgan so long ago at that cabin, in that awesome episode we had, several years ago, I think now. But anyways, about how all life is precious and that Morgan is now basically abandoning the philosophy that he was holding so dear to. So either way, we'll see where that goes. Simon and Dwight show up to Hilltop as the night falls upon the valley. First off, I'm just loving that we have another night scene. That always totally sets the tone. Simon is out for blood like none other, while Dwight, of course, is questioning Simon's directives. Where then out of nowhere, we got the scouting crew, mainly Daryl, leading the pack, just unloading his AK-74 whatever automatic, taking out several saviors on the way in. Basically, the gates are then kind of open as the saviors starting to pour through. A lot of gunfire starts getting tossed out at those gates, taking out many saviors along the way. But then the saviors do make their way in and start using their close combat knives and hatchets and arrows to start, laying and infecting some of the Hilltop people out. Tara gets a solid arrow to the back and gets wounded pretty badly. I can't say I'm totally upset by this, but any loss to Rick's crew, or Maggie for that matter, is usually a loss felt by everyone. I just feel like there's just some development with Tara that it's like either finish her story, which they could be, or or help her heal and then let's let her build. But either way, so she's hurt. After the main barrage of gunfire completes, Simon and his crew slowly and quietly make their way toward the house as they're ambushed heavily from like 2 to 3 sides, totally kicking the crap out of the saviors. They basically, some of them manage to make it out of the main gate and start driving off like bats out of hell, like they usually do. Tara, back to her real quick. She may have actually forgiven Dwight, it seems. So after the aftermath of all the gunfire, she's talking with Daryl, and Daryl's kind of surprised that Tara has decided to forgive Dwight and his doings. And again, I use that lightly. It's not that she's totally forgiven him, but that she has some kind of mutual respect for him because he saved her life. So she could be dead right now, but she's not, and it is because of Dwight. And she is finally realizing this. This helps me in liking Tara a bit more and, helping her character grow. But now with this wound from this arrow, we're not sure what's going to happen. But it is a step in the right direction for a character. It could be too little too late, though. It might just be that ending for her. So either way, so Rick seems to be shutting out Michonne for one reason or another, probably just because Carl's gone and he just doesn't know how to deal with the pain, and that makes sense. Maggie was happy that Rick had left his post to try and kill Negan. Michonne seemed not as happy, probably because she knows that she could have lost Rick. Negan is a pretty solid adversary and could have kicked Rick's ass, but he didn't. So either way, there's some tension between Michonne and Rick right now. We'll have to see if that builds and they come back together. Looks like the Hilltop lost initially, about 9 or 10 people or so. Maggie's struggling with the concept of being a good leader. I mean, she basically just wants Negan's blood and the blood of his people, for Glenn's death and all their others. I can't blame her. If Negan had murdered my wife, like Glenn, I'd move heaven and earth to figure out a way to kill his ass, even if it meant taking my own life. So there's another scene where Carol and Tobin have a conversation about their limited fake relationship. Basically, Carol saying she was just living a lie. She just, once they found out that the saviors were out there and there was another whole war about to start up, there's no reason in trying to settle in and have a relationship. So obviously her and Tobin's relationship didn't go far. Tobin got injured pretty solid. He got sliced across his stomach by a knife from one of the saviors that was infected with that viscera. So he's laying there, wounded, but still having that conversation with her. before he goes to sleep for that night. So, Carol doesn't seem too optimistic about her plans after. Tobin was kind of saying, well, where do you see yourself, after this war and everything else? And she's just, I think she's of the mindset pretty much that she'd just rather probably go off on her own and just not have to deal with anybody and have to care for anyone, because you're just going to probably lose them. A good point, and that is a hard thing to bear, especially in the apocalypse. So next, we see the Hilltop Mansion house, with many wounded and, of course, non-wounded survivors resting quietly in the night. It seems that viscera infection from the undead is working just as Negan had planned with all those weapons. So, unfortunately, Tobin is the first to die. It's amazing how fast it took them over. I mean, I just couldn't believe it, and he just was done. He just stopped breathing, and I think he turned about an hour later or so. So the Savior's plan works way too well, and the Hilltop loses just a ton of people. It's just ridiculous. I always want to mention, although a very cool idea and whatnot with this, the infection, I'm kind of annoyed a little bit at the show for doing this. I mean, we've gone all this time with the show and never seen this happen. I just, we've seen Rick and Glenn from the beginning coat themselves head to toe, and also we had the scenes where they were in Alexandria and they coated themselves, and yet we've still never seen any kind of infection hit any of these guys. And so I'm just like, okay, I guess we'll go with it. I mean, it's happening, so this is how it goes down, and again, it all works all too well. And I mean, Hilltop probably loses another 15 to 20 people. Major losses, because it's not like they have reserves somewhere where, unlike Negan and their crew, Simon and them, they have groups all over the place. So, I mean, a lot of them have been taken out, but still, they do have reserves. So, furthermore, as you hear my attention here, I cannot tell you how freaking annoyed I am with Henry, the little boy from the kingdom. This little dumbass managed to steal an M16 M4 rifle. So earlier in the episode, you see him telling Carol and Maggie and them, saying, I want to fight, I can help, let me get out there. Carol says, no, if you go out there, you're going to die. Which, of course, he's like a 12-year-old boy? Not even that, probably. I mean, sure, I know Carl managed to learn some things, but Carl had a long time to grow up and establish his skill set. Henry is just, I think, starting to explore this, and really all he wants is vengeance, which is just going to get somebody killed anyways. So this guy, he gets this gun. How no one saw him running around with this gun in the complex, because it was still daytime, I think, when he got it. So this is beyond me how he got away with it, but that little shit managed. He goes to the pen in the middle of the night, mind you, while basically the infected survivors are starting to turn and all hell's breaking loose. He goes out to the pen basically to find his brother's killer, because he still doesn't know who it is. Starts talking to Gregory. Gregory's trying to work his magic on him. This little shit opens up the pen, and then as one of the inside Savior prisoners turn and start getting, commotion starts going down, Henry gets tackled, and they get the gun, and pretty much they all escape, all except for a small few who stayed to try and resecure the gates and, and maybe trade sides and join Maggie and Rick's crew. So hopefully they will join Maggie and Rick and not switch sides again. Henry is now missing, and you know what? He better be dead, because I'd probably shoot him myself. The only good thing that came out of this whole thing is that the Saviors that escaped didn't seem to kill anybody else on their way out, but now Simon has just added probably another 20 to 25 guys to his ranks, give or take. And, I mean, I know Henry's just a kid. I get it. I really do. But Carol and or Morgan should have had someone watching his ass. Clearly he was going to try something. You tell a kid no, what are they going to do? First chance they get, they're going to go and they're going to try and do it. So I know this is the show writing. Obviously, I'm upset by it. I'm sure other people are. Technically, the show did its job, because we're supposed to feel emotion from the things they do. However, when it's like stupid things, it crosses a certain line of, oh boy, do I like what they did with this move, or is it just like, this is just kind of poor writing? But all the same, it's what you expect out of a kid, and so they didn't watch him, and he screwed everything over. Now more men have joined Simon's crew of renegades to the Saviors that are going to keep attacking. Rick, Morgan, and Darrow literally clean house and cleanse the infected survivors. Carol takes out Tobin, kind of sad to see that happen, but she does notice that he wasn't bitten, and it doesn't take for them long to figure out and understand that they were probably infected by Negan's weapons. Rick had noticed Negan was coated in all that blood, all in the car, and stuff like that. So this episode was indeed action-packed, but again, another stalemate battle between the Saviors and Hilltop. I think I'm going to give this one, I've been giving a lot of 7.5, this and that. I think I'm going to give this one an overall 7 because it was a solid, action-packed episode that had a lot of cool things going on. Although, those deduction of points are probably between the decisions that were made by some of the characters that just seems like, really? This is how it went down? So either way, 7 out of 10, that's respectable. Again, the gunplay and everything else, fun like usual, but I just, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to start hating on the show because I really, really like it, and I'm in for the duration, no matter what they do. Zombies is my thing. I love it. But unlike many fair-weather Walking Dead fans, as I call them, who exited due to the Negan storyline just because they don't like it. But that's, to each their own. You're allowed to do that. But I will say that this war between the two colonies definitely needs to wrap up by the end of the season. I don't want this show to turn into some local soap opera where every other episode we get another perspective from Simon or Negan or whatever, and then and their crew versus then our beloved Rick and Maggie crew and Hilltop. Make it impactful, make it drastic, and make it an epic ending, to end this toe-tagging war that just keeps going back and forth. So I've actually lost track how many episodes we have left here, but if it's 13, I guess we have, 3 or 4 more? I'm probably off on that, but I'll double check that. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this little recap of tonight's show. Like and subscribe if you do. I'm going to make sure to keep producing these as we keep going out and as we move into Fear the Walking Dead. We're actually going to be releasing a promotion video for our channel just to show you some of the other cool things we're bringing. I had just released a head decapitation tutorial for all you editors out there who maybe use Adobe After Effects. So it's pretty cool stuff. We used this scene in our most recent episode 5 of Dead Nightmare. I say most recent, it's actually been out for almost a year, but we're about to release episode 6, and I hope to have some other cool tutorials on eye replacement. Heck, you could just do it with your pictures of your friends or this or that. It's pretty cool stuff, and all you'd really need is either maybe Photoshop or some other editor. If you have Adobe After Effects, that would really, really help, but either way. So again, this is Mike Schilling with ZMAM Show, and we're out until next time. See ya.